it's Christian Spring from the STRI, and we're here to talk all about plant growth regulators today. And we've got a special guest with us this week. We've got Joe Kinder from Agrovista. So, Joe, do you want to just explain a little bit about what it is you do?
Yeah, hi, Christian. Yeah, good to see you. Yeah, I mean, my role is as a technical manager with Agrovista Immunity. I've actually been here for quite a few years now, so in my 20th year with these guys. Principally, I'm involved with technical support. I'm quite a big team, quite a big outfit these days, so that keeps me pretty busy. My other principal role is technical support for my colleagues, but also customer. And I get heavily involved as well these days with, for quite a number of years really, trials work, a little bit of agronomic support, and I retain a customer base, which I really enjoy as well. So all good.
Good stuff. Well, thank you very much for the overview, Joe. And we're here today to really talk a little bit about plant growth regulators. So I just want to say hi to everyone on the stream. Hopefully everyone can hear us that's watching on Facebook. Any problems, any queries, just drop a comment to us. I see Eric Olson is here in the stream with us, so that's great. So I'm looking forward to your questions as always, Eric, because you always throw up a few good ones. We'll if you have a question, please feel free, ask as we go through. Just type it up in the comments box on Facebook, and we'll go through them as normal as we go through it. So, Joe, really, of plant growth regulators, the main topic of the day.
Yeah, very topical as well.
Well, absolutely very topical. Yeah. Lots of interest, lots of discussion.
Yes.
Even irrespective of COVID-19, the topic of plant growth regulators is always a hot one, whether you do, whether you don't, and whether you know what you're doing. So, what are plant growth regulators?
Yeah, I think we kind of think of them all. We're drawn to the plant growth regulator, or PGR, as we've been using Trinexapac, ethyl in the industry for a number of years, and we kind of think that is a plant growth regulator, but it's a lot bigger than that, Christian, as you're probably aware. It's we can refer to things like hormone weed killers, the synthetic auxin type weed killers as a plant growth regulator. We know the they instead of regulating the growth, they're causing growth to go crazy a little bit, stretching the cells, twisting growth, which is causing the plant to die there. We can think of them also as nutritional products or even biostimulants. So it's not just regulating growth, I think is the main point we need to get over.
Absolutely, you made an interesting point, Joe. There's a reason why plant growth regulators are covered by plant protection regulations. Because, as you say, synthetic auxins, a lot of herbicides in their own right are regulators, and it's just permanent regulation of target species for getting rid of them. So
I think that sort of reason why they're sort of classified in that regards, aren't they? Got to be registered as a product, a plant protection product, because they are actually something active in there doing something. So it needs to have a registration. We typically think of fungicides, herbicides, pesticides, but plant growth regulators also come under that remit, if you like, as well.
Yeah, and I think that's an important point, man. And that's why these things need to be regulated, and why their use is carefully controlled, and also gives confidence because of the process they go through before they get to market. Is
absolutely very, very strict testing, got to meet very strict guidelines on efficacy, etc. So
absolutely. So any late joiners to the stream, welcome. Thank you very much for coming along. Ask any questions you want, just pop them in there in the comments, and we'll go through them. And so, Joe, we sort of, in terms of plant growth regulators, I mean, are these new products? Have they been around a while, or is it something we've been sort of playing with recently?
They go back quite a way from what I'm aware of. I think looking as far back as the 1940s, they were starting to look at this type of chemistry. I think they were getting a little bit excited at that time that they could stick something on some grass and not mow it for about 10 years, but it's not quite worked out that way. Early products. Oh, you're testing me now. I don't know if it was neonicotinoids or something they're looking at, but certainly malic hydroside springs to mind.
Yeah.
That was one, wasn't it? So they've been around a while for sure.
And certainly very popular and very well used in other industries, especially agriculture and crop growth. So they're not new. Yes, absolutely. So they're not necessarily new for plants, but they're probably new for or more new, should I say, for the turf management.
Yeah, and I think we just focus on one or two chemistries because that's what we know, but there are a broader chemistry, if you like, of products out there. We're looking at the gibberellic acid inhibitors, trinexapac and prohexadione type products, but I think they class them as sort of late GA inhibitors, don't they? But there's others. I'm trying to think. Paclobutazol, it's more of an early phase GA inhibitor. So there's plenty out there. Was it Ephenon? These sort of products. There are quite a few. If you look, you'll find not just that one we're familiar with because it's in amenity.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a whole range of these active substances which will do these jobs, and they'll act in different points and different pathways in the biochemistry. And I guess it's key to perhaps understanding a little bit about how plants grow, because you mentioned gibberellic acid there. What are the other important growth hormones that we're
and I think that if anybody went to Turf Science Live last year, they would have seen us doing the exact opposite. Using gibberellic acid to actually promote growth. I think, and just to emphasize how powerful it is as a growth hormone, and we're just using 20 grams a hectare on an area in the trial, weren't we? And I think we were a little bit worried it was going to grow down the hillside there and devour half of the town.
Absolutely, and again, with the plant hormones working in balance to elicit different sort of responses, and I guess a lot of these plant growth regulators, by messing with a particular plant hormone, can then mean that balance of these hormones, the cytokinins, the auxins, these sort of which work in tandem with each other, that elicits the response, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so it's not just switching these things off. You can actually do the opposite as well. So
no, absolutely. It's because again, it's about regulating growth, and regulating means
I think regulating, not just regulating in terms of you can actually make them grow rather than just suppress that growth as well. So, but for this conversation, we're mainly focusing, aren't we, on the growth regulation in terms of reducing growth. So.
And we'll talk a little bit in more detail about the two most common turf management related products or active substances. But so just as an overview for the time being, what are the benefits that plant growth regulators can bring to turf management? And I see we've got some great questions coming up, so we'll get to those shortly.
Yeah, I'll have a look at a few of those.
Absolutely. So in terms
of management, clearly we're trying to stop too much top growth, so it's reduce clipping yield, even reduce nitrogen input or nutrient input with that. We're actually reducing the length of the cells, if you like, so you're getting more cells in a smaller area, and you're getting this lateral growth effect. So you're thickening growth, so you're getting that sort of advantage. Contrary to what some people might experience or see, it actually can cause a darkening effect of the grass, not just people worry about this yellowing effect you sometimes can get. But actually, because you've got more chlorophyll in a small area, you can get this darkening effect as well. And there's also the reported effects of, well, reported but proven effects of the greater tillering, the density, the root density is also improved with these products. So there's a whole number of reasons why you use them, or you should be looking at using them, really. Okay.
And certainly, one of the things we've also seen with PGRs is the benefit they can have in stressful conditions. And one of the things often talked about with turf is the potential for PGRs to actually give some benefit with things like drought tolerance and just coping with stress. Obviously, we've got to be careful about PGRs and applying them and how stressed the turf is.
Yeah, you want to avoid. In stressful conditions, you do want to avoid applying them.
But there is some evidence to show that kind of almost like as part of a rooting program, it can mean if you do get a stressful condition, it can help the grass get through it a little bit easier. We've certainly seen some extreme examples with shade tolerance and some drought and nutrient tolerance with Bingley. But as always, the devil is in the detail about how you use these things, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's right.
And so sort of Glenn is raised an interesting question here. Thank you very much, Glenn. When you buy a PGR for turf, they normally work on cell division or cell elongation. Is there a PGR that can achieve both? It's an interesting question.
Yeah, it is a good question. I mean, certainly the two products you now have available, we're going to mention it in a minute. Although there's some difference in the chemistry, they fundamentally work the same way. So we don't have anything in amenity that certainly isn't approved for that, unless you know something that I don't know.
No, and I think that the main focus for turf, and this is different again with different higher plants, but obviously for turf, it's been very much focused on the cell elongation. And sort of the control of vertical growth, but also increase in tillering as well. So it depends, I guess, a lot on the chemistry and what part of the pathway that's interacting with.
Yes,
and I think that's important. And so I think that's a great question, and I think it does depend on the product and also how that active substance interacts with that particular crop, because you can get slightly different responses in fruit trees, for example, or rice or wheat than you might get in turf.
Yeah, sure.
And Eric has asked the question, there are different classes of PGRs. Are there any benefits to using alternative classes during different growing seasons?
I think that there is, and without going into too much detail, it's something we're definitely going to be looking at with the two chemistries we've got. So I think, as two products now we have in the marketplace, I think they both offer some really, really key advantages and differences. Although they're operating in similar manner in terms of how they go about suppressing growth, there are some key differences in how they go about that, and key benefits to both products, I feel. So I think there is a way forward in using them either together, as a mix, or using one and then another. So I think that's a great question, and I think there is some validity to that, definitely.
And I think that's, as you say, that I think is going to be the interest and an area of focus. Now in the UK, where we have both, and we've kind of danced a little bit around it, but where we've had prohexadione and trinexapac ethyl now both available. So it's in terms of those two active substances. What are they doing, Joe? I mean, what products are there in the marketplace for turf specifically, and how are they best used?
Yeah, clearly we as a company have both, and we both, as a company, we support both products. It's not about saying one is better than the other. Okay, so let's get that over quite clearly. We're still on a learning curve how we could use them together as well. But in terms of differences, you're talking the way they get into the plant and react, or how they actually produce some differences within the plant. I mean, in terms of how they actually react and get into the plant. I mean, one of them, Trinexapac, it's systemic in its activity. It's got good movement towards the roots as well. So we may well see more root development compared with prehexadione, which is acropetal. Yeah, it's got where it goes in, it moves up. But there's also some key differences in how quickly that reaction occurs as well. So you've got an advantage, if you like, with prehexadione. It'll work within 3 to 4 hours, for instance, whereas trifloxy will take 3 to 4 days. So there's a clear differences there. Okay.
Absolutely. So with the Trinexapac, it just does take that a little bit longer to sort of get active within the plant, I guess.
Yeah, that's it. I think you have to almost go back to when you're actually putting the product in the tank as well, because as soon as you put that prehexadione into the water, it becomes available and active. It protects on calcium, but that calcium gets pulled away from the prehexadione. So that's prehexadione is then active. It gets onto the plant. It moves in acropedally. It's already active. It can get going straight. Well, within 3 to 4 hours. Okay, you can see that. Whereas trifloxy, Trexapac, all these chemical names are great, aren't they? Will take up to 3 to 4 days for that acid, Trinexapac acid, to become available. Yeah, and start to work.
So you could already see, for example, situations there where you might be thinking about an immediate response and then looking at a program which you're getting that tail to the effect potentially.
Yeah, again, I think if you're looking at the activity once it's in there and it's doing its work, there's evidence to show that I'm getting confused with the chemicals again. Trinexapac ethyl. It's so far easier to say the trade names.
Absolutely.
I'm trying to hold off the trade names for a bit later. Trinexapac ethyl, once it's there, the activity suppression of the top growth may well be stronger. Whereas with your prehexadione, you're going to get greater longevity or evenness of effect. Yeah, this is what we would like to see. So you combining those benefits together, yeah, you might get a better all-round product by mixing them together or using them alternatively as well. Okay.
So that's an area of potential of good ongoing research to look at, demonstrating and trialing that. Yeah,
for sure. As well as looking at other elements of what they can achieve in terms of growth suppression, power, pioneering, and development and what have you. Yeah.
So to save any more tongue twisters, Trinexapac ethyls. So I mean, in reality, there are two groups of products, aren't there? There is products like Primo Max 2, which are Trinexapac ethyl based, and there are also we also have now a Traxor, which is hexadione calcium.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these people will be obviously more familiar with the Primo Max and Primo Max 2 as it is now. We've got a strong relationship with BASF, and we've now been able to bring the Traxor to the market. It has been available in other markets in the world. That chemistry has been available as people want to research it. As the new in America and regardless in Europe. So we're almost quite late to the party really on availability. So yeah, it's quite exciting now to have two products that we can investigate further and use, and we as a company have access to both of these products. So looking forward to working with them. Yeah.
And that means there'll be a lot of interest now in which is going to be the best route and how to put that program together. And I think Eric's raised a question which we'll come on to later on because it mentions GDP. But good idea. There's some interesting potential combinations and thought process then with these different products.
Yeah, clearly, and we know the behaviour or how they make the grass behave is fundamentally different, and we need to just tap into those benefits of both products to get a very good level of suppression and evenness. We're aware of I say Traxor now, can't I?
You can't say Traxor now, Joe. It's all fine.
We're going to maybe say perhexidine calcium.
The inner scientist in me makes me. I think you should stick to the chemical names, but
yeah,
to make it easier, let's throw some trade names in there as well.
Yeah, I mean, certainly it's the way it behaves in regards to its activity on individual grass species is recognised to be quite even. Okay, so we'll be looking for that when it's out there being used to be even amongst the species. Yeah, between the meadowgrass, the bent, the fescues, the rye, it's getting a more even effect in terms of its control. So I think that there's the danger of when we've been applying it, or just applying, say, every 2 weeks or every 4 weeks with little or no thought beyond that process, is you can get stacking effect, and you can get some damage effect from using these. So we're trying to tap into how we can best recommend their use, and clearly that's what ICL have been doing just from recently as well. Syngenta with the talking about GDD and the trial that's been on social media as well. So we're all looking at that.
Yeah,
to use them better, more effectively.
And so you sort of we've had it mentioned here, and you've mentioned it, and GDD. So what is GDD? Crash course of GDD, Joe.
It's about hard to explain, isn't it? It's some of these chemical names. I think it's created a lot of confusion in the industry. I really do. I think it's a great model. I think the confusion has come because we're at different starting points. Some people are working on 0-degree models, or 6-degree models, or 10-degree models. For those who are not familiar with GDD, it's kind of been taking the highest temperature of the day, the lowest temperature of the day, and a starting figure of, say, 6 degrees, and dividing the high and the low. And if it's above 6, if the average is 15, it's 15 takes 6, gives you 9 growth degree days. You then add that 9 to the next day's growth degree days until you hit a certain number of degree days. Then you apply your growth, your PGR. Could be 150, 200, 250. Yeah, it seems a little bit all over the place, although work that has been done is great, and I think it's giving some guidance to where we are with it, and how to use it better than just, I use it every 2 weeks regardless, or every 4 weeks. Yeah, so it's linking GDD to your weather, to be able to use the PGRs at the right moment during the year.
Absolutely, and I guess that's an important point, isn't it? Rather than having a prescriptive program of 7-day or 14-day application interval, you're responding and understanding the more growth potential there is, i.e. the more growth degree days we accumulate, the more chance there is that we're going to need to increase or reapply, potentially because we've mown off biomass and removed.
For sure. You're mowing off. The temperature is going to change all the time. The higher the temperature, the more it will biodegrade quicker. So you need to put it on more regularly. Yeah, you're hitting that target of growth degree days quicker. But I think for us anyway, we've certainly. I'm not going to give you the full model that we will be using. We have developed a new model that will give the guidance of when you would actually need to start, or prepare to start, prepare to stop, and stop. It'll actually tell you that, rather than counting the GDD, or having to use calculators and things like that. So we've been working on simplifying the model. We're comfortable that what we've created works great, and it will give, it will simplify the whole process. I'm not going to say much more beyond.
And it is a useful concept, use of model, and it's one that we're working working with, and you've alluded to it before.
Yeah.
It's part of the current conditions we're under, and the fact that the golf courses have been starting to get back into play again.
Yes.
Looking at PGRs in particular, plant growth regulators with GDD models, with Syngenta and with ICL, and that's a useful versus comparing that prescriptive, I'm going at a fixed interval versus different GDD intervals. That's providing a lot of interest, and I think that's certainly something where there are greenkeepers being very proactive with that out there and recognizing that sticking to a prescriptive interval doesn't always do your turf justice, and we don't necessarily want to be running a risk of turf running in and out of regulation over time.
Yeah, and I think there's that stacking concern if you're working to certain models. The product's it's running out in certain grass species and not in others, so then you're reapplying it and it's not quite being used up in, say, your bent, but it's being used up in your meadowgrass, and therefore you're stacking up in the other grass and can cause issues. So hopefully, with a little bit more thought using these models that are available, that'll be avoided to a certain degree. But I do think there's been that confusion there, and we have come up with a very much simplified model of being able to use not only a Traxor but Primo Max 2 as well. So the model works for both products, and I'm really looking forward to launching that out there into the industry. I think it'd be quite a game changer.
So I think there'll be a lot more people using, no matter what tool you're using, whether it's Agrovista or being developed by other companies like Syngenta, etc. Then there is going to be a lot more. There's no excuse now for discounting GDD. There's every option to have a play with it now.
Absolutely. And it's not only that; it's getting people to look at the weather systems that are now there. I think the technology we've got coming down the road within our industry, that's here already. Really, it's fantastic. You've just got to tap into it, and these tools are there and available for you, and it's just it's going to really make things so much more precise, and you get so much more out of the products you're using, particularly PGRs. I think a place for technology with using these things, doing
things in a smart way as and when the turf needs it. That's a very sensible.
As and when your local weather is telling you need it, because that's another thing, isn't it? I mean, weather's it's
still cold up north, Joe. It's and those on the
freezing here.
Whereas those on the south coast will be a bit different, and those up in the sunny climes of Scotland again will be a different regime and a different timescale for when they're coming out.
Yeah, well, this is it, Christian. We have used our model over several years now. We've looked back on several years worth of data and applied our model to it, and it's been quite fascinating that some areas have been telling you to get going with growth retardant February 1 year, and then the next year it's not telling you to start until May. And that's just incredible, difference for exactly the same area.
Absolutely, and again, it's just being aware of growth patterns and changes in weather, and the link between the plant, the biology, and the abiotic stresses. Because ironically, as well, we have had hot and cold, but we've had predominantly dry, and that abiotic stress has also been a suppression factor on growth, because we don't have the conditions necessarily there for growing massive growth. We can have the control to be able to put water on. Temperature's a bit difficult, but it's knowing what these things do, isn't it, to growth and growth potential.
Absolutely. So I think it's a fascinating area at the moment, and if you scratch the surface, you see it's not just a product just to dob a bit into your nutrient mix a couple of times a month, but it needn't be complicated. It needn't be sort of scared. There's loads of mathematical formulas and things like that you've got to be using to work it all out. It's been simplified, and
make things easy. And Eric,
it should be.
Eric here's asked a good question. So Eric said, so with PGR programs, less fertility is needed for same turf results. So, i.e., can we get away with lower nutrition when using a PGR? should we be using GDD models to help time fertilizer applications as well, or that combined PGR fertilizer program? It's an interesting question. Interesting thought.
Yes. Just going back to the nutrient input, I think we're all quite comfortable with the fact you need to be putting a little bit of nutrient in there. There's not a lot these things don't tend to mix with. So certainly primo over the years, it pretty much goes with everything I can think of. I've never had an issue, a tank mixing issue. In terms of using a beneficial product, I certainly know with regards to Traxor, it helps if you're buffering the pH of the water. A lot of chemistry out there, not just PGRs, are subject to what they call alkaline hydrolysis, where you're putting your product into an alkaline water source, and the calcium ions are binding with the chemistry and reducing its efficacy in that regard. So if anything you can do to, when you're using fertilizers, PGR, certainly the Traxor, is to reduce that pH value. And you can it has a natural buffer in there anyway, but for guys in a hard water area, for instance, if you ironically just use something like ammonium sulfate, just good ammonium sulfate, it's much overlooked adjuvant, really. It's clearly a nitrogen fertilizer, but it does have a very good effect on reducing the pH value of the water in the tank. And preventing that alkaline hydrolysis. It's
and helping with then the plant with uptake, plant health in general, and so it's multiple benefits.
It's giving you you 2.5-3 kilos of nitrogen, which they recommend you put with these products, and so it's buffering the water. It's giving you that nitrogen. It's going to stop yellowing problems that you might have with these products.
Absolutely, which is what Pete Nicholson's saying there. He was saying, is there a PGR liquid nitrogen mix available or ready to go direct to use to apply? And never use the PGR, though it causes yellowing to turf. Well, it can do, and certainly that's why the recommendation is always put a little squirt of nitrogen in with your tank, just to help with that, and sort of mix that in with potentially your feed program as well. So.
Yeah, but it's quite a fascinating area. We're not getting off subject, but using ammonium sulfate, you can even use it with Roundup, believe it or not, as an adjuvant to help the Roundup efficacy of getting into the plant. It's welcome to.
And so I think from Pete's point of view, yes, absolutely. Put a little squirt of nitrogen there. You won't have any issues with yellowing, and there's nothing to be frightened of with PGRs. They are a powerful tool, and if we use them appropriately, we can get powerful results from them.
Yeah, you do see that. You see people getting frightened off of it the first time they use it. They use it without putting the nutrient in, the yellow, and cause dieback of the turf. And saying, I'm never going to use it again. I think it's a real missed opportunity. There's lots of people out there who have had negative effects over the years using PGR, but once you get used to it, once you get the method right, I think you won't look back. You'll be really comfortable. It's a real good tool in the box to be using.
Absolutely, and so a little squirt of nitrogen in that tank with it. If you've got a good granular program, and as long as your turf's healthy and has nutrient, then that's going to help stop all of those kind of issues, and that's key to use.
I think if I was to say not to use a certain nutrient product, it'd be one with high magnesium, the metals, or the manganese, the even calcium, high calcium products, with something like a Traxor. So just ammonium sulfate is absolutely fine, and there'll be loads of things it will mix with.
Yes, I mean all the liquid products for a start will be perfectly compatible with that. And if in doubt, do yourself a jug test.
Or phone your friendly rep up and ask them.
Absolutely, just to see what the compatibilities are like. And so Pete, don't be scared. It is just make sure you get that right. And if you need to take some advice and you want to check, then there's lots of people out there in the industry that will be more than happy to help you there. So absolutely. And so Ashley's made a good point here that there is there's a variety of different GDD tools. Jumping back to GDD, and there's one that Syngenta are looking to develop with Greencasters, and you've got your guy. You guys have got one. So there's going to be a lot of different systems out there, but the more we get, the better.
Yeah, I think it's also got to be recognised. It's not new what we're doing in terms of GDD. GDD has been around, quite a few years now. But it's how we apply that GDD to, a primo, a Traxor, and other elements, if you like, to get the best out of the product, or to give you the best advice when using those products.
And here's a very specific question, and I think very football related. So again, we're into renovation times. People are let's just talk about what is football coming. When's it coming back? So Stefan here has asked, how soon would you consider introducing a PGR into newly established swards, for example, ryegrass on football?
I think that, obviously I don't want to speak for our colleagues at ICL or Syngenta. I think, but they were talking recently in their presentation of 150 growth degree days for rye. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Sounds about right.
Yeah, you're working with them, aren't you, on this? So that'll be the recommendation if that's what they're going with.
I mean, I think it's just judge the turf how well it's establishing, and bear in mind that again, you don't want to go too soon for causing if there is any sort of stress effects, and so there is a little bit of a judgment there, especially in a state environment where you've got a whole variety of different controls like lights, like undersoil heating. So it can be difficult, but certainly give it a little time to get up and get going really, and sort of getting to that sort of 2-3 leaf stage. Yeah,
and the other thing as well is, they're not that detrimental to newly developing seed either, are they? When used correctly. That's another thing people ask, and spray it onto a newly sown area. Not known to cause damage to new seed. Certainly, I know a Traxor, it doesn't, once it hits the ground as well, it's deactivated. So in fact, any immediately newly developing seed, it's not going to be a problem there. No,
and overseeding operations on golf greens could be used to help keep the canopy open.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can spray it on and allow the new seed to then develop. It's not got the PGR on, so you should get faster development and holding back the already established grass for sure. Yeah.
So I think and also you've got to be aware, Stephanie, that kind of be cautious about temperatures as well. So any stresses that could be going on the turf, just be a little bit careful.
Yes, that's it.
Okay. So there's a whole host, and we've focused really on sort of the growth regulation aspects. Are there other aspects to PGRs, and I'm thinking here particularly with Traxor, that are going to be of relevance and benefit to turf managers out
there? I'm excited to see in the trials work we're doing, and what is known about Traxor is that is the power pioneering aspect of it. I mean, I think we think when we apply a PGR, it's actually removing the power that's there, but it's not really. It's just slowing down the development of seed heads. So if you spray it onto, certainly referring to Traxor, if you're spraying it onto grass that's already got developed seed heads, and then you were to groom and remove those seed heads, any new existing seed heads, not quite developed, will be held, but it will also prevent up to, I reckon, 38% of seen in trials of new seed heads developing. So it can hold back, reduce seed head development, and that will reduce power pioneering into your grass. Into the grass swards, so
that's a great
reduction in power.
That's a great term, but not one that I've come across before. Is power pioneering. I've got this. I've got this image of power plants in a wagon train going off to exploit new territories. But I mean that's important, isn't it? It's because what you're doing is seed bank control, whilst it's still not in the seed bank.
Yeah, that's it. It's stopping what's there, but it also stop what could have come behind that as well. So you're getting that 35 to 40% reduction. That's quite significant if you're trying to hold back the meadowgrass from spreading across the whole surface. And certainly there's good strong evidence. If you're trying to keep a surface clean as well, in that regards, using a Traxel will certainly the high rates will prevent further, because you're preventing that pioneering aspect of power development. It will keep the surface clean for longer.
And I suppose, that's what Glenn's alluding to here in his question, that is there something that works on cell division that can help with seed heads emerging? And now I suppose we're coming towards, we're coming to the point where, I don't know how you're seeing it, Joe, albeit not necessarily in the flesh on golf courses. I have the luxury of sometimes walking across the turf at Bingley, but I'm still seeing, with the cold temperatures, power annuals kind of still hunkered down there going, no chance of my moving, and the bent grasses and the fescues are growing quite happily, but of course we're now starting to get towards head season.
I think that's another exciting aspect of a Traxel is you can use it at it's more active at a lower temperature, so hopefully you can get using that product earlier. So you can, and because it's even between the species, you're going to see more of an even effect. So you're not going to have that where the bent starts growing and the meadowgrass sits tight to the surface. So it should have an even effect across the species. So you get more uniform turf surface at an earlier stage of the year. So looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah, and certainly with what we're seeing, albeit we're using in the trial with Syngenta, we're very much for the lockdown purposes, we're focusing on Primo Max 2. But obviously, we are seeing now regulation, and we're not putting any nutrient in with the Primo Max 2. So we have had a base feed program go down just to help give continuity, and that's helped as well. But it's interesting, and even with soil temperatures being, let's say, around 6 to 8 degrees at the moment on average, although they are bobbling up and down a little bit, we're still seeing good regulation, but it's all about how quickly that regulation can start to occur.
In the past, I know we've been told sort of about 10 degrees for Trinexapac. I know you're obviously working with Syngenta ICL at lower temperatures, and so it'd be interesting to keep following the trial you're doing there, see how they get on, and GDD that's coming out of that trial. But certainly we know you can start using the Traxel at 6 degrees, so it's got to be a major advantage there as well.
It's more tools in the turf manager's arsenal.
It really is. So
it's only a positive situation, isn't it?
That's it. It's not about saying this product's better than that product. We fully support both products, and really looking forward to bringing the Traxel through with the trials we're going to be doing with you guys this year, and user experiences and what have you. But there's a lot of information. As I say, it's not brand new to our market.
No.
People want to get on Google and research the American market, how it's been used there in the turf industry, in places in Germany. There's really good stuff, really good academic evidence, but also field evidence to show data to show what it actually will do for you.
Absolutely, and I'm sure Eric,
what it will do for you.
Eric, who has spent time in the US, will attest that there's been quite a bit of work done on it over there, and so we're not dealing with a brand new situation. We're just dealing with these products and working out how best to fit them inside of our.
It's clearly new to our. Traxel's clearly new to our market. It's clearly new to a lot of our guys, and it's how do we recommend that is used to the best of its ability. Knowing what we know about the product, and combined with what we already have, I think it's a great extra tool in the toolbox for greenkeepers and groundsmen. I think it's fantastic. So very excited how we can use those either individually or combined. on various different sports surfaces. So it's going to be it's going to be interesting year with that in that regards.
Absolutely, and in terms of the POA pioneering, so I guess because we are starting to come towards the infamous POA seed head, so not only start to get golf back, we also now get the perennial seed heady bumpy surfaces. When's the best time for using prehexadione or Traxel for seed head suppression? Well,
this is what we developed our own model for when to get going, so when to tell you to start using this. There's a 21-day minimum interval with the product. The model works out excellently with that in that regards as well. So so most likely you would have already started your use of Traxel. Okay, it's clearly quite cold in some parts of the country still, but I can attest to here. It was about half degree, 1 degree night before last.
Chilly.
Yeah.
So Traxel kind of needs that kind of. Will it give the better? So obviously, it's going to have a much better effect if we can get growth regulated well in advance, I guess, of the seed head season. But say we've been caught with our pants down a little bit, and we start to see some seed head activity.
Yeah, I think you can still go. You can still go with it, Christian. You'd put it on. You'd groom. You're not going to put it on and see those seed heads vanish. You've got to do your grooming work. Yeah, but what comes afterwards is going to be suppressed, and then you're going to be putting on at the higher rate. You should start to see this ability of Traxel to prevent POA pioneering. So certainly if you're not dealing with the golf course is already 80-90% POA, you can certainly help to keep that POA out or down, suppressed, if you like. So.
Absolutely. Help slow the inevitable advance of our friend.
Yes, it can be your best friend, can't it?
No, that's a whole different stream, that is, Joe. It might take several streams to get to that. Let's not go down that route.
On that one.
But Eric here's again asked an interesting question. He said, I've always pushed water volumes quite low to maximize how far a tank will go, thinking here fairway applications. Is there a point that water volume sort of could affect PGR efficacy? And I guess for me, it's probably getting it to target in an even application. But any thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I think again, you don't want to be washing it off the leaf. You don't want to be putting it on so high. I mean, the other questions are: can you use wetting agent with PGRs? Yes, you can, but certainly hexadione. You don't want to be. It might be a product placement issue with that regards. Washing off the leaf. You want it to get into the leaf. It works repeatedly, as we discussed earlier on. But I believe with Primo, there's been some good trial results with wetting agents, hasn't there, in that regards? Time to go. Is there a point? So I mean, you've got to go label rates as well. Clearly, so, 300, 600 litres. So we can't recommend anything lower than that. Although the guys out there are putting on 200 litres of all sorts of stuff now, aren't they? It seems to be the trend.
Well, I mean, I think certainly the trend is that to look at water rates and how low can they be effectively and safely reduced by, because it does make it easier to go out and get spraying done, and especially if you've got more restricted sort of tank sizes.
The nozzle technology as well is that as well. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely, and Kyle, good to see you on the stream, Kyle. Always a pleasure. He talking about PGRs and using Primo Max on his pitch over this period and having good results. And I saw some pictures, Kyle, when you sort of. You sent me the other a few weeks ago, and looking good. So I think
I'm a great advocate for Primo on pitches. I think it really tightens the sward. It tightens the roots. Yeah, makes them grip much better in the sandy profiles. I really feel I've seen that and noted that when it's been going on certain pitches I've been dealing with. I think it's good evidence for that with probably the trials you've been doing with that product as well. So.
Absolutely, and so I think it's one of those things that probably could be utilised further. I think in that marketplace, in that pitch and stadium marketplace, to help get a benefit.
Yeah, I think, looked at presentations where they've been using it, where they've actually covered the pictures with, using it there. I think you might tell me better. You've got that rebound effect, haven't you? As you take the covers off, you can actually look at using a PGR.
Yeah, absolutely.
The rebound, not just the suppression.
No, absolutely, and that kind of helping with the stress moderation and concert season. It can be really beneficial. So I think so. One of the things that comes out to me of our conversation today, Joe, is that PGR is not just a PGR. Well, it is, but it does more than just save you on the amount of times you have to mow. It does so many more things.
Absolutely, it's a lot of things. It really is, and just going over it again, you've got greater tillering, greater rooting, you've got greater density, better color. There's a lot of factors there, not just, as you say, just reducing the clipping yield. It's not just about that. So anybody who ever thought of using a PGR, it really isn't. It's a great tool to consider. I wouldn't be scared of using one either, regardless of what you might have previously experienced or heard of.
No, absolutely. Get it right. Make sure the plant is healthy. It's not under stress. You will get good results from it, and I think PGRs can play really important part of our whole turf management program, whether it's tee to green, really.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And so there's a lot of benefits. So big fan of PGRs and as a tool in our integrated program of how we manage and think about turf.
Yeah, I think given the fact of how we're reacting as within the trade, the manufacturers looking at the GDD models, and how we can get the guys, the grounds and the greenkeepers to use those products better, just shows how important we see the product as well. We know how good it is, and it's just those who are not convinced yet, we're spread the word far and wide. So
absolutely, no, you're preaching to the converted here, Joe. Very much advocate of sensible and integrated PGRs within an integrated turf management program. Real benefits and no real reason why not to use them. No,
there isn't. There definitely isn't. Yeah, that's it for sure.
Well, I think Joe, we've been talking for about 51 minutes here, as is our. We'll keep on talking. Yeah, absolutely. Well, it tends to happen. It's my fault. I tend to talk too much, as you well know, as everyone on the stream well knows. But it's good. Hopefully, everyone found it really interesting, informative. PGRs, yes, explore them, utilize them, get the best from them, and I think it's a really valuable tool. So. I really want to say thank you so much, Joe, for coming on the stream. Really useful to have you here. Really informative behind sort of the tech behind PGRs, really.
Absolutely, yeah. This is it. It's just the start for what we're doing with Traxor, and hopefully with the Turf Science Live this year, if it goes ahead, Christian.
You'll be hearing more about about plant growth regulators, no doubt, when we come to. Fingers crossed, STRI research days in September. So looking forward to it, looking forward to do some work on it, and looking forward to interacting with all you guys and feeding back on the outcomes of that. So thank you very much, everybody. Keep safe, keep well, and hopefully some of us can enjoy a round of golf socially. Following
that's the news of the week.
Absolutely following some social distancing procedures. But thank you very much, Joe. Thanks everyone for coming on the stream and listening. And we'll be back same time next week, different topic. Looking forward to talking to you all then. Cheers, guys. Bye.